us listen.
Dear little friends, today Auntie wants to tell you a story about a very strong man who lived very long ago. His name was Samson. The story starts like this. Again the Israelites did evil in the eyes of the Lord. So the Lord delivered them into the hands of the Philistines for 40 years. A certain man named Manoah had a wife who did not have any child. The angel of the Lord appeared to her and said, "You are barren and childless, but you are going to become pregnant and give birth to a son, and you must never cut his hair. The boy is to be a Nazarite, dedicated to God. He will take the lead in delivering Israel from the hands of the Philistines." Then the woman went to her husband and told him, "A man of God came to me. He looked like an angel of God. I didn't ask him where he came from, and he didn't tell me his name. But he said to me, 'You will become pregnant and have a son.'" Then Manoah prayed to the Lord, "Pardon your servant, Lord. I beg you to let the man of God you sent to us come again to teach us how to raise the boy who is to be born." God heard Manoah, and the angel of God came again to the woman while she was out in the field. But her husband Manoah was not with her. The woman hurried to tell her husband, "He is here, the man who appeared to me the other day." Manoah got up and followed his wife. When he came to the man, he said, "Are you the man who talked to my wife?" "I am," he said. The angel told Manoah everything he told his wife. Manoah took a young goat together with a grain offering and sacrificed it on a rock to the Lord. And the Lord did an amazing thing while Manoah and his wife watched. As the flame blazed up from the altar toward heaven, the angel of the Lord went up in the flame. Seeing this, Manoah and his wife fell with their faces to the ground. The woman gave birth to a boy and named him Samson. He grew and the Lord blessed him. One day, Samson went to Timnah and saw there a young Philistine woman. When he returned, he said to his father and mother that he wants to marry the woman. Samson went down to Timnah together with his father and mother. On their way, suddenly a young lion came roaring toward him. The Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon Samson, so that he tore the lion apart with his bare hands, as he might have torn a young goat. But he told neither his father nor his mother what he had done. Sometime later, when he went back to marry the woman, he turned aside to look at the lion's carcass. And in it he saw a swarm of bees and some honey. He scooped out the honey with his hands and ate as he went along. When he came to his parents, he gave them some, and they too ate. But he did not tell them that he had taken the honey from the lion's carcass. Now his father went down to see the woman, and there Samson held a feast. The young men of the Philistines were there. "Let me tell you a riddle," Samson said to them. "If you can give me the answer within the 7 days of the feast, I will give you 30 linen garments and 30 sets of clothes. If you can't tell me the answer, you must give me 30 linen garments and 30 sets of clothes." "Tell us your riddle," they said. "Let's hear it." He replied, "Out of the eater, something to eat. Out of the strong, something sweet." For 3 days they could not give the answer. They pleaded with Samson's wife to find out the answer from Samson, and after she begged Samson, he told her the answer to the riddle. Before sunset on the 7th day, the men of the town said to him, "What is sweeter than honey? What is stronger than a lion?" Samson said to them, "If my wife did not tell you, you would not have known the answer." Then the Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon him. He went and struck down 30 of their men, took their clothes and gave it to those who had explained the riddle. Samson was very angry. Later on, at the time of the wheat harvest, Samson took a young goat and went to visit his wife. But they gave his wife to someone else. Samson was very angry, so he went out and caught 300 foxes and tied their tails together. He then fastened a torch to every pair of tails, lit the torches, and let the foxes loose in the farms of the Philistines. He burned up their crops. When the Philistines asked, "Who did this?" they were told, "Samson did it." The Philistines came toward him shouting. The Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon Samson. He found a bone of a donkey. He grabbed it and struck down 1,000 men. Then Samson said, "With a donkey's jawbone I have made donkeys of them. With a donkey's jawbone I have killed 1,000 men." Sometime later, Samson fell in love with a woman whose name was Delilah. The rulers of the Philistines went to her and said, "See if you can lure him into showing you the secret of his great strength and how we can overpower him so that we may tie him up and kill him. We will pay you," they said. So Delilah said to Samson, "Tell me the secret of your great strength and how you can be tied up and subdued." Samson answered her, "If anyone ties me with 7 fresh bowstrings that have not been dried, I will become as weak as any other man." Then the rulers of the Philistines brought her 7 fresh bowstrings that had not been dried, and she tied him with them. With men hidden in her room, she called to him, "Samson, the Philistines are upon you!" But he snapped the bowstrings as easily as a piece of string snaps when it comes close to a flame. So the secret of his strength was not discovered. Then Delilah said to Samson, "You have made a fool of me. You lied to me. Come now, tell me how you can be tied." He said, "If anyone ties me securely with new ropes that have never been used, I'll become as weak as any other man." So Delilah took new ropes and tied him with them. Then, with men hidden in the room, she called to him, "Samson, the Philistines are upon you!" But he snapped the ropes of his arms as if they were threads. Delilah then said to Samson, "All this time you have been making a fool of me and lying to me. Tell me how you can be tied." He replied, "If you weave the 7 braids of my hair into the fabric and tighten it with a pin, I'll become as weak as any other man." So while he was sleeping, Delilah took the 7 braids of his hair, wove them into the fabric, and tightened it with the pin. Again she called to him, "Samson, the Philistines are upon you!" He awoke from his sleep and pulled himself loose again. Then she said to him, "How can you say I love you when you won't tell me the truth? This is the 3rd time now you have made a fool of me and haven't told me the secret of your great strength." She kept on nagging Samson until he finally told her how he can lose his strength. So he told her everything. "No razor has ever been used on my head," he said, "because I have been a Nazarite dedicated to God from birth. If my head were shaved, my strength would leave me, and I would become as weak as any other man." When Delilah saw that he had told her everything, she sent word to the rulers of the Philistines, "Come back once more. He has told me everything." After putting him to sleep on her lap, she called for someone to shave off the 7 braids of his hair, and his strength left him. Then she called, "Samson, the Philistines are upon you!" He awoke from his sleep and thought, "I'll go out as before and shake myself free." But he did not know that the Lord had left him. Then the Philistines seized him, gouged his eyes out, and took him down to Gaza. Binding him with bronze shackles, they set him to grinding grain in the prison. But the hair on his head began to grow again after it had been shaved. Now the rulers of the Philistines assembled to offer a great sacrifice to Dagon their god and to celebrate, saying, "Our God has delivered Samson, our enemy, into our hands." They shouted, "Bring out Samson to entertain us." So they called Samson out of the prison, and he performed for them. When they stood him among the pillars, Samson said to the servant who held his hand, "Put me where I can feel the pillars that support the temple, so that I may lean against them." Now the temple was crowded with men and women. All the rulers of the Philistines were there, and on the roof were about 3,000 men and women watching Samson perform. Then Samson prayed to the Lord, "Sovereign Lord, remember me. Please, God, strengthen me just once more, and let me, with one blow, get revenge on the Philistines for my 2 eyes." Then Samson reached toward the 2 central pillars on which the temple stood. Then he pushed with all his might, and down came the temple on the rulers and all the people in it. Thus Samson killed many more when he died than while he lived. Then his brothers and his father's whole family went down to get him. They brought him back and buried him in the tomb of Manoah his father. He had led Israel for 20 years. My little friends, is this not a sad story of Samson and how he died? Samson was a very strong man, but because he disobeyed God, he lost his strength. The angel of God told his parents never to cut his hair. But because Samson told the secret to his enemies, the Philistines, they cut his hair and he lost his strength. My little friends, we should never disobey God. We should always obey God when He tells us to do something. Then God will always be with us and help us and protect us. And I hope, my little friends, that you will remember that Auntie loves you, but Jesus Christ loves you